I think it's the time. Let's get it started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharma, and I serve as Research Director at Rodale Institute Southeast Organic Center. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm really glad to have you here. Today, we'll be talking about a crop that is very ancient, very delicate, very valuable, and very much possible to grow here in the Southeast Georgia in southern United States. And I'm talking about saffron. Many people think that saffron is an exotic crop, right? Something that only grows in places like Iran or India. But today, I'll walk you through what saffron really is, where it grows, how it can grow, and what are the soil, water, nutrient requirement of this very expensive spice. And we'll also talk about the flip side, some of the challenges, including the adulteration of saffron, which is unfortunately very common in our global market. And most importantly, I'll be sharing findings from our research work with saffron at Rodale Institute Southeast Organic Center in Georgia. What we are learning is not only exciting, it's also a very opening of possibilities for farmers who are looking for new high value crop. So there is a lot of things that we want to share with you all. And we are very grateful to Southern SARE and Rodale for supporting this important work. Just to let you know, this webinar is also being recorded and it will be available to listen in a few weeks. Finally, I encourage you to actively participate in this webinar by posting your question in QA section, and I will try to answer them at the very end if time permits. Thank you. Um, so before diving into saffron, let's take a quick look into our agriculture landscape here at United States. According to recent farm data, about 89% of our farm here at United States are classified as small farms, right? It means that they gross less than $350,000 per year. And that means they also operate at a very razor thin margin and face significant financial risks. So, what can help these farms stay viable and profitable? One key strategy is to diversify our farm, right? Crop diversification, which means adding new and potentially profitable crops into our system. This brings us to our central question. Can saffron be that alternative crop for small scale farmers, especially in the southern United States? And at Rodale Institute, Southeast Organic Center, we put that question into test, and we'll talk about our research. We'll talk about our research findings later in the webinar. Let's look into the global saffron market. The global saffron market, you will see that these different economics here in this slide, which will more likely help us see where our real opportunities are, right? In 2023, if you look into the data, saffron was ranked as 3,437th most traded product globally, and that might sound like a modest number, but if you look into total trade value, it's 266 million, which gives you a sense of how high value this saffron crop really is. And if you look into major players in saffron market, the major exporters were Iran, which dominated almost the saffron market, 115 million US dollar in exports, and it was followed by Spain, Afghanistan. And one important thing to note is Spain is also importing a lot of saffron, over 45 million dollar of saffron, and India, China, United States follows Spain, right? What is really interesting is saffron market is really dominated in Middle East and in South Asia, But we are also seeing very growing interest in saffron in US market. There is growing demand in the US, and one of the reason for this growing demand is due to increasing awareness about saffron medicinal value, about the health benefit of saffron, and people are turning to saffron from everything, for everything like from spice to medicinal purpose, because of a lot of antioxidant properties that saffron carries, right? And that's showing up in our purchasing trend in United States. Here in North America, the saffron market is also projected to grow a lot in days ahead, in years to come. And we are expecting the saffron market to reach almost 113 million by 2030. And it will, of course, open door for domestic grower. The domestic growers should start seriously thinking about producing saffron, and especially the organic saffron. And if you look at organic saffron, just speaking of organic saffron itself, the organic saffron market was valued at around 320 million in 2023, and is projected to grow by 530 million by 2032. While conventional saffron, we see that is dominating a lot of our market, almost 63% of our global market. We see more like an increasing trend towards organic, and which could be a very good niche for growers here in United States, especially in southern United States. So uh, when we are talking about saffron, we are not talking about a boutique crop. We are talking about market that is really growing fast, a market that is really diversifying, and let's pay attention to where we can go saffron, how we can grow saffron. What is commercial saffron? Saffron is a perennial crop, right? It's a perennial geophyte, or more like it propagates more like vegetatively. So it's vegetative propagation by comb. It doesn't produce seed because it's a male sterile, and the seeds are the comb. These seeds will act as a storage organ or reproductive structure, and each mother comb will produce 1 to 3 daughter comes, but depending on your climate, depending on your uh, agronomic practices, it might be slightly higher in number. And leaves are usually 6 to 9. They are erect, very narrow, and grass-like, sometimes resemble to onion and garlic. So the flower are usually one, and in some cases you'll find like up to 4 flowers. And that's the ideal condition when your climate, when all your management practices are acting together in a very nice way. And it's a very peculiar plant because the flower will either emerge before or after the leaves. And saffron flower, if you look into saffron flower, as you see on this slide, they are violet colored and dark red to reddish brown stigmas. This red thread that you are seeing, that's the actual saffron stigmas that we usually find out in the market, right? That we purchase in the market. And if you look at the definition of commercial saffron on right hand side, is the dried, dark red in color, trumpet say. That's the stigma that we'll be talking about. That's what we purchase in commercial market. And each flower will contain 3 stigmas, which are harvested, dried, and they will be marketed as saffron. And there are some physical properties of saffron out in the table. You can see there the mean weight of saffron, almost 5 grams, the diameter 22 millimeter, bulk density, a lot of different parameters over here. And the some of the things that I want to highlight is saffron contains a lot of different compounds, almost 160 different compounds, and important ones are crocin, picocrocin, and saffronol. And you can see the very top, crocetine. The crocetine is produced from the breakdown of crocin. So crocin, when you take saffron, when you intake saffron, the saffron will be again hydrolyzed into crocetine and sugar. So crocin, picocrocin, and saffronol, these are 3 major compounds, and crocin is one of the very important carotenoid pigment, because it's the one which is giving saffron the yellow orange hue or yellow orange color, right? and it has a lot of antioxidant properties. And this account for normally 0.5 to 32% of dry matter of saffron. But if you look into picocrucin, it's almost 0.5 to 26% of dry matter of saffron, and is the actual compound that gives flavor, more like a bitter flavor to saffron. And saffronol is 70% of volatile fraction of saffron, and is the one which is imparting this wonderful aroma and smell uh, to this uh, to this crop. And apart from these three different compounds, there are a lot of other different compounds. Is rich in vitamins, amino acid, proteins, starch, minerals, and gums. So a lot of different chemical compounds in saffron. Saffron, if you look into growing areas of saffron around the world, saffron is cultivated across a range of environment, typically in areas from mild to dry climates, and it can tolerate a pretty wide temperature range from as low as like minus 18 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. And that's the region is more resilient than many people actually realize. And if you look into the elevation, saffron can grow from as low as 77 to all the way up to 2000 meter above sea level, and that's actually a huge range, right? So it is one of the reason why we are starting to see saffron being researched, being studied in different part of the world, also right here in United States. And in the United States, saffron is cultivated in states like Georgia, in California, Vermont, and all a few other states. And all these different states have different climate, different growing condition, right? And what is very interesting for Georgia is if you look into the elevation, we are somewhere around 180 meter above sea level, which is quite similar to Iran. And you all know that Iran is one of the most saffron producing countries in the world, top most saffron producing countries in the world, right? And some of the key growing areas in Iran sit around that 300 meter above sea level, and Georgia is also very close to that range. Let's talk about soil and water requirement of saffron. And when it comes to growing saffron, saffron can thrive in very soil, right? But what it prefers is very well-drained, clay calcareous soil with adequate amount of organic matter. It means well-drained clay soil or a medium loamy soil with good humus content is very good for saffron production. An ideal pH for saffron production is neutral to slightly alkaline. Not acid soils are not that great. So to boost your soil fertility, and you can use a variety of cover crops or crop rotation, right? Legume crop rotation, legume cover crops, that's preferred. And there was one study on fava beans, which was used as cover crop, and fava beans actually increased the saffron number when it was used in the agriculture system as cover crop, right? And it also showed almost double stigma yield when you compare the yield from faba beans with a control plot or fallow plot. So cover crop, they're very great. And in India, we see the saffron being rotated with crops like corn, oat, and in United States, we see this saffron being rotated with crops like sunflower, soybean in crop rotation. And if you look into irrigation, saffron is not that water demanding crop. It doesn't need much water. And some people recommend up to 5 irrigation before comb lifting, after comb planting, pre-flowering stage during vegetative growth, and in summer to ensure your best quality and yield. But this requirement can always vary depending on your soil characteristics, climate, and your fertilization practices, right? So it's important first you do your soil test and see what your soil requirements are before you apply any fertilizers or nutrients or water in your soil. And let's look into the nutrient requirements of saffron. And saffron is a very delicate crop. and it will respond very quickly with very good care when it comes to what's going on this well. And therefore it is very important that you know that what you are putting in your soil, you should put right nutrients, right, that can make a big difference in both flower yield and on your corm development or your seed development. Let's begin with nitrogen. So nitrogen is very essential for flower production, but also for the growth of these plants and for underground structures or corms, right? And research suggests that you can apply up to 90 kilogram per hectare of nitrogen. And some source also recommend adding up to 60 ton per hectare of manure to build up organic matter and nutrient level. But before you do any of this, always start with soil test. Your soil may already have sufficient nutrition, or your soil may need adjustment, right? Next, phosphorus. So phosphorus is very important for vegetative growth, for flower formation, and if you look into recommendation, it falls between 50 to 70 kilograms per hectare. But again, tailor it according to your soil conditions. And potassium is there. This is also important for very much important for your vegetative growth of saffron. But importantly, this potassium helps saffron tolerate salinity and improving the quality of saffron also. So about 100 kilograms per hectare of potassium sulfate is commonly recommended. But again, soil test should guide your decision. If you are farming organically, like we are doing here in Southeast Organic Center, our approach is a bit different. We apply compost. We apply 10 tons per acre of compost. You can rely on organic amendments like compost, manure, or biochar. I like biochar actually. Biochar is a great soil conditioner. It improves saffron growth by improving soil structure, by improving moisture retention, nutrients, and compost is also very important. Don't underestimate compost. Compost is very good because it slowly releases your nutrients, right? Slowly releases nitrogen, phosphorus, and it's very important for your soil microbes and for your soil health. And typical recommendation that you will find out in literature is 20 tons per hectare. And it of course depend on whether your compost is very fresh or very old. Um, uh, the bottom line is saffron is a balanced diet, right? So whether you are using conventional system or you are using organic system, just be thoughtful about your nutrient input and apply nutrients based on your actual soil test results, and that's the key to your healthy and productive crop. Let's talk about harvesting, processing, and storage of saffron. And saffron, you should always pick saffron flowers in the morning when they are fully elongated and just starting to open. And pick saffron flowers and try to process them on the same day after harvesting. If you can't process them the same day, the idea is to store it properly, right? So how do you store it? So spread the flour on a paper towel on a tray and refrigerate it, and that will preserve the quality of saffron. And there are different approaches to drying. You can dry it in direct sunlight, shade drying is there, a microwave drying is there, but I prefer oven drying. And oven drying, you can dry it in different temperature like 60 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes, 100 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. But the idea is you should have the moisture content less than 12%. So the dehydrated saffron stigmas should have at least 12%, less than 12% moisture content. And this is very critical to preserve your flavor, to preserve your aroma. And store your dried saffron in very dark environment, or use light blocking containers. You can store saffron in room temperature. And if you follow these steps, you will ensure that your saffron retains its color, its flavor, and this strong aroma for um, extended period of time. So saffron, if you look into the uses of saffron, it has multiple uses, multiple, and it is one of the most expensive spice by weight. The common uses is used in cooking, but if you look at other uses, it's used in painting, in textile industries, in cosmetics, right? And it is used in treatment of disease like cardiovascular disease, stress, aging, sexual dysfunction, cancer, cholesterol. I'm not a health expert, so please don't ask me questions related to health about the use of saffron. And studies, there are studies that are showing that saffron can be used in making saffron tea. Saffron tea has a lot of health benefit like protection against the neurotoxic effect of alpha toxin, reducing depression, increasing happiness. But one recent use that I'm quite fascinated is using saffron to make craft beer. And one of the beer that I found in literature was Belgian blonde craft beer. We recently had a paper out, and you can see some of these uses of saffron highlighted in our paper. So just see that paper that I have listed here as a reference. You can also follow this paper and get into more detail about what are the different uses of saffron. Let's talk about adulteration, and adulteration is something that is very unfortunate in our market, saffron market in our United States and in other part of the world, because saffron is very valuable spice, very high value spice. It has been one of the prime target for fraud, and the demand is very high, the price is very high, and because the price is very high, demand is very high, it creates a perfect market for what we call people out there, saffron mafias, right? So adulteration, it means you are mixing this genuine saffron with other material, either to cut the cost or to increase your profit, right? And this doesn't only reduce the quality, but also it affects the flavor, it affects the aroma, the medicinal properties of saffron. So if you see the different items that are being used in adulteration, it's a long list, and some of these lists are very creative as well. There are some of the tricks that people are using, like using colored threads, synthetic dyes, dried fruits of paper, or rhizome of turmeric, or safflower, which is very common. Sometimes people get mistaken for safflower with saffron. So these things might look convincing, but they are not the real thing. And um, uh, people are also using animal products. If you look at the list, this would be, I guess, pretty eye-opening. And there are some methods that you can use to detect this kind of adulteration or fraud. People have been using chromatography, spectroscopy, and sensor-based technologies in lab. Like SPLC method is one of the tool that scientists use, right, to detect this adulteration. But we won't dive into some of those technical details. I'm not expert on those details myself. And what is important for us is how consumer or how grower should know about the different adulteration, right? So know about this adulteration and always buy the adulterate, always buy non-adulterate saffron. You buy the saffron seed from trusted source, reputable source, and you should be aware of these are the common tricks that people are using to trick you. So whether you are buying or purchasing your saffron, know the real thing, know the real seller or reputable source that you are buying from, and this is how you buy the fake saffron. And it will also have to protect both the market and integrity of saffron. And in this slide I have listed some of the studies that are done in United States on saffron. Across all studies, if you look across all studies, what you can see is saffron planting is done at 10 to 15 centimeter depth, and people are using 64 to 162 combs per meter square. One of these studies suggested that if you are aiming for annual production, always do shallow planting. And if you are aiming for perennial plantation or for a couple of years, always do deep planting. And saffron processing method also has lot of effects on the quality, right? When dried at 100 degrees Celsius, one study showed that the saffron contains higher concentration of saffronol and crocin, and picocuration will also go conversion into saffronol at a higher temperature. So these are some of the research findings from United States. And at at Southeast Organic Center, we have also processed saffron using different temperature, and we are waiting for our results from lab on those processed sample. Probably we can share that sometimes down the road. But these are some of the studies and results from some of the studies on saffron in the United States. At Southeast Organic Center or at Rodale Institute, we tested two different production system. One was open production system, and one was closed production system or plastic tunnel. And the idea about testing this production system was we had two different production system and planting dates. So we had early planting and late planting. So early planting was done in September, late planting was done in October. So the idea was to evaluate how these different production system like low plastic tunnel planting and open field planting and two different planting dates like early planting and late planting, how saffron behaves, how saffron performs under this different system and under different planting date. That was one of our objective. And the other objective was to develop an enterprise budget, like profit or loss based on our production system. And we are testing the economic feasibility of saffron, also some of our economic analysis here in um, next few minutes. As I walk you through what I did, you'll see a lot of different pictures, a lot of different photographs. I will try to show you what we have learned and where we could go next. That's what I'll be sharing or discussing on next few presentation slides. And we first we prepared the field, right? We started preparing the field by applying about 10 tons per acre of compost. The idea was to improve soil fertility, soil health. Before applying, always do your soil test. And then we drill a 6-inch hole. Our farm manager, Blake Morris, is drilling those holes. And those holes were spaced 6 inches apart. We planted saffron combs on those holes. And in some areas, we also dug trenches just to see how saffron will perform on those trenches, right? These are these different holes that we dug, and then we planted saffron combs on those holes. Um, and These are the different production system here. We had two different production system, open and we have low plastic tunnel. And open planting and low plastic tunnel planting or closed planting, we did that on two different planting dates. Early planting was done on September 22nd of 2023, and late planting was done on October 17 of 2023. Uh, when it comes to harvesting saffron, it's very labor intensive, incredibly labor intensive, and very time sensitive. I guess I briefly talked that before, but what I want to highlight is you have to handpick each of those flowers, and you have to pick those flowers in the morning when they are fully elongated, just starting to open, and as you pick them, you want to process them within next couple of hours, or if not possible, within next 1 or 2 days. If immediate processing is not feasible, as I mentioned before, you can just put it on a small tray and refrigerate it. And the idea is you want to keep these saffron flowers once harvested away from the direct sunlight, and it will help take out those stigmas very easily if you keep this away from direct sunlight. But again, when you are drying the stigma, you can dry it in sunlight, or you can dry it in shade, or in oven, or in microwave. And here I want to just show some pictures of different stages of saffron from October 2024 to April 2025. The saffron flower, you usually see saffron flower in October, November, and that's when you see lot of flowers in your saffron, right? And these all beautiful flowers have to be hand picked, hand harvested, and these stigmas have to be separated by hand. So it's very labor intensive. and you have to dry these stigmas again. The idea is you need to have less than 12% moisture content. That's the ISO standard. And in oven, as I talked before, we can dry that at 100 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes or 60 degree for 30 minutes, or you can just dry it in sun or in shade, or you can dry it in microwave for about 1 minute. And after this flowering, you see in December 2024, this will enter into vegetative stage. So it's very peculiar, right? Flowering, then into vegetative stage. So reverse life cycle, I would say. And you can see the pictures in January, February, March, and in April now the leaves are starting to wither, or leaves are starting to dry out. So this will signal the end of the growth cycle for the season. Just want to walk you through some of our results. So first, the flowers over the past two growing seasons. In 2023, if you look into left hand side, 2023 data, we had a very strong flowering season. But if you look into right hand side 2024, the flower number dropped almost by half. And that was surprising, but it's also very common. In perennial cropping system, if you don't apply nutrients for the second year. So the ideal way to crop saffron for perennial is to apply nutrients for successive years. So once your flowering is done and is starting to go into vegetative phase, you have to apply nutrients so that it produces more flower in the second year. So we are learning a lot of new things every day from this research. So I'm just sharing some of the things that I have learned through my experience here. Um, let's again look into some of these results. So if you look into production system, you can see that low plastic tunnel versus open field, and we saw some interesting shift between the year, right? In 2023, the low plastic tunnel or the closed system was outperforming this open system. Just look at that left hand side and the figure on the right. So this closed system, you can see is outperforming the open system. But if you look into 2024, we see the exact opposite, right? The open field had actually higher flower count under the same planting conditions, right? So when we break down this into the planting date, if you look into late planting and early planting, like late planting in 2023 had more flowers in open field, and early planting had more flowers in open, in closed system. But if you look into 2024, the late planting again gave more flowers in the open, and in closed system early planting had higher flower count than the late planting. So what's the key takeaway from this? Both planting date and production system, whether it's tunnel or it's open field, it can influence your flower yield, right? And these effects are not always fixed. They can shift from year to year, mostly due to your agronomic practices, soil management practices, and environmental variable. And that's just how dynamic this saffron cultivation can be, and why we need this continuous research, why we continuously need adaptive management for successful growing of saffron. And just again look at this figure before we move to the next slide. So just keep in mind that in 2023, late planting in October produced more flower in the open field. In 2024, again the trend was holding there. Late planting gave more flowers in the open field, but in closed system, early planting had higher flower counts than the late planting. Now let's look into the stigma. If you look into the stigma yield from our saffron trial over the past 2 years, it's very complex. You can see how complex, how dynamic saffron production system can be. If you look into 2023, and just like the flower low plastic system, or the closed system, I would like to call it closed system, outperform the open field by narrow margin, but both in flower count and both in stigma yield, right? When we combine both early planting and late planting. But when we break this into like planting date, something very interesting stood out. In 2023, late planting in closed system gave higher stigma yield, even more than early planting. And across both systems that year, late planting led to better stigma production. But If you look into 2024, it's exactly reversing this trend. Look at that figure. In 2024, open field resulted in higher stigma yield than closed field, and perhaps more surprisingly, early planting also outperformed late planting in 2024, and that's exactly opposite of what we saw a year before. So if you look deeper into 2024 data, in open field, late planting came out ahead in terms of yield, and in closed system, early planting clearly produced more stigma than late planting. So what does these things tell us? You see year-to-year variability in stigma yield, right? There is a lot of variability year to year, planting time, growing system, whether you are growing it in open field or in plastic tunnel, they will all interact in complex ways to influence this saffron yield performance. So we need continuous testing, we need continuous research to make a decision, right? So research studies, long-term studies are definitely important in saffron production to make saffron a very successful venture. And one thing that we tried was to estimate how many Dottercom we produced from these plots. So in 2023, we planted one com in each of those holes, right? And in 2025, we did a random survey of all these plants. So we just dig out this saffron plant and counted the number of combs, right? So the idea was to assess the plant establishment in each plot. If you look into this figure, you can see that the early planting resulted in average number 4. That's the average number that you see saffron plants, or one mother comb produced at least 3 daughter combs. While if you look into this late planting produced an average of 2. So one mother comb produced only one daughter comb. But when both open system and closed system, if you look them, they produce an average of 3 plants, right? And if you just look into this figure, you can see that open system early planting produced 4 plants, open system late planting produced 2 plants, closed system early planting produced 4 plants, closed system late planting produced 2 plants. So on an average, you can see 2 to 3 daughter combs produced from one mother comb. So one seed can produce 2 to 3 daughter combs. And saffron is not just about stigmas, right? It's a very potential source of income, we all know that, but it also provides a lot of valuable ecosystem service. And during our trial, we regularly see these beautiful butterflies, bumblebees visiting our saffron flowers, and they support this pollination in our farm, and they also increase the aesthetic appeal of our landscape. So this is another layer of value of incorporating saffron into diversified farming system. Uh, Now, we also did economic analysis of our system, and on economic side, we developed this enterprise budget, what we call. The idea was to evaluate the feasibility of saffron production over 2-year period, and we found that the saffron produced um, almost net revenue of $5,000 over the 2-year period for 0.25 acre of land. So here are the breakdowns: your total saffron revenue, total com revenue, gross income, total cost, labor cost, and your net revenue of 5K over 2-year period. And these numbers suggest that saffron can be a very profitable venture, a very profitable crop, especially for these small farms who are looking to diversify. And I can say that the good news is profitability can be expected to grow over time if your daughter comes increases, if your flower yield increases, and particularly under optimized management like better soil, fertility, irrigation, pest control, you can see more profitability. But our research also has taught us that we need more long-term data to fully understand how this system evolve over time, how the economics evolve over time. And we need to explore some additional strategies to make saffron more profitable, more viable for southern growers, for of course. And if you want to know more about what we did, our work. I would recommend checking out one of the features on WebFM. It's a great story that highlight our Saffron project, and they covered about our research and how it connects to real farms, local communities. And I think it's a very quick and engaging way to understand why this work really matters. And you can find this on their website. And recently, we published a review paper on saffron. I would say that this is one-stop shop. You will find saffron origin, saffron biology, chemical composition, use of saffron, adulteration of saffron, some of the research that were done in United States. So it's a review paper, and it's free to download. The link is shared there. You can even type this paper, type my name, search for this paper. You can easily access this paper, free to download, free to use. And this paper also provides some of the research gap that we are seeing in United States, and some of the opportunities for expanding saffron under climate change, under advanced innovation and management. We have focused really much on agronomic practices on this paper, so this is very eye opener for a lot of beginners, farmers. And our goal was to support informed decision making, and also to contribute to saffron industry, especially for emerging regions like Georgia. So if you have time, please check out this paper as well. You'll find a lot of information. And yeah, of course, this research, saffron research, was funded by Southern SARE, made possible with their funding only. And I want to sincerely thank them for their support. And I would say that their commitment to sustainable agriculture has been very instrumental for carrying out this work. And thank you all for your time, interest, your attention today. And I'll take questions from chat and from QA. Thanks for participating. Um, let me go one by one. What type of oven would you recommend for drying? What were the temperatures and time in the oven? That's a great question, Douglas. Thank you for that question. So, a number of ways you can dry saffron: sun drying, set drying, oven drying, even the normal microwave that you can buy from Walmart. You can use that, right? So in oven, we dried at 60 degrees Celsius and 100 degrees Celsius. 60 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes, and 100 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes. Microwave, 1 minute drying. Sun drying, it just depends on your sunshine. So those were the temperatures that are recommended in literatures. Where can the paper be read? Okay, so if you want to access the paper, just type the name of a paper, or you can just search my name in Google Scholar, or even in Google, and you can find that paper. Very soon the paper will also be listed on Rodale website, and you can also access it from Rodale website. And this presentation will also be posted on Rodale website on YouTube, and you can even find the link from YouTube. Yeah, that's different ways you can access that paper. uh, I am fourth generation saffron farmer. Based on my experience, I would not recommend drying saffron in oven. The reason being, it dries the moisture quickly, making stigma brittle. We still lay down saffron after harvest on white seed, um, after harvest, and let it dry slowly under room temperature. That's a great point, Douglas. I completely agree with you. So here we are doing research, right? So we are still waiting for the results from the lab. But I completely agree with you. They can be very brittle under oven drying. So there is not a specific way that you can dry. You can either use. There are multiple methods out there. So I completely agree with you. But because we are doing research at Rodale Institute, we are trying to look at different method of drying. We have dried that in oven. We have dried that in microwave. So we are just trying, and once we get the results, we can specifically share which one is better than which one. So we are just comparing for research purpose. But I completely agree with you. Just try your best method. Try sun drying, try set drying, and which one works for you, that's fine. Room temperature, how long it takes to dry at room temperature depends. 2 to 3 days is to dry. Do you cover the top of stigmas with anything to protect them from moving or insect? That's a great question. Usually room drying, people don't recommend room drying. So there are benefits and disadvantages, merits and demerits of room drying as well. So contamination is one of the issue. So definitely covering with something, but again, you have to dry it. So depends how you dry it. But always be aware of contamination. Yeah, the Washim made a great point there. Dog, we don't cover the crop with anything on the top. Saffron once laid down, it produces this odor which will doesn't attract insects. So you can dry it for 4 to 5 days. Leave it for a week. It if the quantities are less, I agree with you. So 2 to 3 days normally it should dry. 4 to 5 days, even if you leave them for a week. But again, be aware of contamination. That's one only thing that we are worried about with drying at Sean said. Um, does the stamens and flower addition market, do you dry those in similar ways? So right now we are doing research on stigmas only. So I don't know if your question is specifically referring to the other parts of the flower like petals, stigmas, sorry, stamens. I'm not sure if you are referring to that, but people have been using petals for other purposes as well. There are research being done for cosmetics if you are talking about petals. But if you are talking about stigmas, I see some market there, as I was talking on my very first few slides about the market opportunities for saffron. So if you look into price right now, it ranges all the way from 30 to almost $200 based on the quality in different parts of the world. So right now in United States, you can buy it in about 20 to $40. So I see good market. Organic saffron is getting a lot of traction, a lot of attraction due to its therapeutic value. So there is definitely market, but this is something that I'm not expert on. But definitely the demand is high. You can see from those numbers that I presented. It needs a cool temperature in early winter to stimulate flowering in province, Mashhad province. I doubt the coldness in US region. So that's a great question. So I was talking about the temperature range. So it can go all the way from -18 to up to 40 degrees Celsius. Georgia, if you look into Georgia, I mean, right now, today, the temperature was 82 degrees Celsius. Sorry, 82 degree Fahrenheit, right? So it can go in wide range of climate. But some of the cold regions, I can see that the saffron coming from Kashmir, India, one of the coldest region, they are good in quality, high in quality. So I partly agree with you. It has potential to grow in tropical countries. Yes, I definitely agree with that one. If you look into temperature in Georgia, California, and, yeah, it can tolerate warm temperature as well. Iran has the highest quality. When is the best time to plant saffron? So when is the best time to plant saffron? That's the question market asked. So we tried two different planting dates, right? But if you look into literature, it's planted all the way from August up to October. That's the when you plant your saffron. Early planting is fine. Late planting, we are also doing research on late and early planting. So the time ranges between August to October, August, September, October. Early planting is fine. Late planting is also okay. Uh, will you share this PowerPoint? I won't be sharing this PowerPoint, but you will find all this presentation recorded and available on YouTube on Rodale website. Uh, what disease predator interfere with this plant growth? That's a great question. That's a great question. And there are a lot of disease and a lot of predators. If you look into the paper, that I shared, you'll find a lot of information about weeds, predators, disease, insect pests. So some of the things that I see out here is rodents. Rodents is one of the major issue that we are seeing, and then there is Corm rot. That's one of the diseases. There are some viral disease, some fungal disease, bacterial disease, and that paper talks about different ways that you can use to control these diseases. But clean using clean Corm or clean seed, good crop rotation, and making your bed really clean are some of the cultural ways that you can use. But there are other insecticide, pesticide, herbicide that people use in conventional organic farming. um, but here, one of the major issues is comrade that we are seeing. So having appropriate moisture is the idea. Don't irrigate too much. Don't irrigate less. Adequate irrigation is important. And let me stop the sharing, and let me uh, uh, go through other questions here. Where does one get organic seeds? So we bought organic seed from Rocco Saffron. So Rocco Saffron was the one who donated the seed for our research. So that's one company that you can buy saffron seeds from. Uh, I have bees in the farm. What's the impact on saffron? So bees are great pollinators. In case the bees keep honey from saffron, the honey has pharmaceutical benefit. That's a great question, and that's something that could be tested, but I don't know exactly. But that's a great question. But saffron itself has a lot of therapeutic advantages, right? We were talking about cancer, Alzheimer, and that's one of the reasons why the demand is growing so fast. Um, how do you spell supplier name? Rocco Saffron, R as Romeo, O C O. R as Romeo, O as Orange, C as Cat, O as Orange. Rocco Saffron. Let me see if I missed any other question. Yeah, that's most of the questions. Let me see if there are any other questions on QA here. Washing from California, for generation, other industry for using per million. So is it import primarily by retailers? Um, Washim, that's a great question. Washim has asked a question about, you mentioned a lot of imports, especially millions of dollars worth of saffron in United States. Is this import primarily by retailer, or are there any industry-based procurement? I'm not sure about that. That's a little beyond my expertise. So those figures that I presented, those are the numbers that I find in literatures. But there are people, there are farmers purchasing saffron, and there are research institute, universities purchasing saffron, and I'm not sure. I don't have details about retailers or procurements. Um, what is the value of U.S. saffron market today? Here, the U.S. saffron market, the value. If you look into value, the worldwide organic saffron market was 320 million, and is projected to reach 530 million by 2032. And in North America, the saffron market is 130 million. That's projected to reach 113 million by 2030. And you can find more details about this market on the paper as well. Is the saffron grown as annual when incorporated into crop rotation with soybean? So saffron crop rotation usually you follow when I mean, it can be annual, it can be perennial as well. So if you grow saffron for annual harvesting, and if you are growing saffron for long-term perennial harvesting, so cover crop can be grown. Once the cover crop are grown, you can just terminate the cover crop and plant saffron there, right? So that will supply nutrients. But if you are planting saffron for long term, then you can just plant shallow rooted cover crop on top of saffron as well, and use that as a nutrient source. Um, and usually people leave set aside certain part of their land for saffron for perennial cropping. And usually you don't there are reports that you don't farm on same piece of land for consecutive years. So you farm there for 2 years, then you plant some cover crop, then again farm another year saffron. So it depends how you schedule your, how you design your research, or how you design your study, or how you design your farm. So annual, perennial, whether you are using cover crop or you are using crop rotation. So it depends on your farm design. There are different approaches to that. Right now, people are trying growing some shallow rooted crop on top of saffron. So that's something that people have been trying too. So it depends. There are different approaches to that. You can use cover crop, crop rotations for annual or for perennial, but how you use it is different. We have a few more minutes. So we purchased organic saffron from Washington-based farm. Thanks, Cameron. Jason, you missed my question. I'm trying to find Jason question. Okay, so referencing the slide title, Yield and Revenue Analysis under Economic Summary, does the total cost include total labor cost? Yes, sir. Thanks, Jason. So that's the economic analysis we did. So I'd like to highlight one thing over here. So Vermont University has developed this enterprise budgeting Excel sheet that you can use. If you have your numbers from your farm, like how many flowers, how many seeds, what was the area that you planted, then you can extrapolate it for 0.25 or for 1 acre, and you can use that Excel file that Vermont University has produced for economic analysis. And that does take into account labor costs, the cost of fertilizers, and things like that. Thanks, Jason. I don't see further questions, so probably I'll take one more question here. Has anyone grown saffron on commercial large scale model in US producing? Washim, that's a great question. I don't know about large scale model farm producing large scale saffron. So I think that saffron is still beginning to take traction among farmers as a high value crop. A lot of farmers are not still producing saffron, so it's just taking pace right now. So in years down the road, farmer might grow it in larger scale, but right now we don't have innovation, we don't have machinery or equipments for large scale farming. Having said that, I don't know much about if there are any commercial large scale farmers of saffron in United States. I have come across a few farms, but they are small scale farmers only. Where are the saffron grown in US? I have seen people growing saffron in Vermont, in Georgia. I have come across few farmers, and then I have seen people growing saffron in California and in Kentucky as well. Well, thank you all for participating on this webinar. It was really great talking with you through this webinar chat and through QA section. And thanks for attending the webinar. If you have any question, feel free to reach me through my email. And of course, yeah, feel free to download that paper. And this presentation will be available or archived in Rodale website in next few weeks. And also be available in Rodale page in YouTube. Yeah, you can access this presentation there as well. And thanks for participating. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.